We start with the one who is the longest overdue. When I was brought on by the coaches, we were figuring the names out, who we were going to put on, who we needed to nominate. And I took one list and says, look at the list. Where's Johnny Bright? And they all looked at me and said, yeah, we need to do that one now. And as of tonight, we are. He is the one gentleman that in my time here, was not able to see play because even I wasn't around when he was starting his time. But having seen video that's available and then looking at the numbers and then hearing the stories, this was a gentleman that was one of the greats. At Central, where he ran football, basketball, and track. At Drake, where he was an All-American in football. He's a Canadian Football League Hall of Famer. I don't know how we would have missed it for this, but it's astounding in all phases that we did until now, and it's good that we did it. And I just kind of have to wonder if times were different now than they are then, and we had the times of now if this gentleman wouldn't have had a career that put himself in camp. And I think we could all pretty much agree on that. So to do the really way it should be done introduction to Johnny Bright, we have his granddaughter, Bree Johnson.
Wow, I've only ever seen you on the news before. This is exciting. I'm honored. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bree Johnson, and I'm the youngest granddaughter of John Bright. On behalf of myself and the entire Bright family, including my Auntie Candy, who's in Edmonton, and my mother, Deanie, who's here tonight, and who celebrates her birthday tomorrow, we'd like to thank you all for this incredible honor. It also doesn't feel great to know that no matter what I give my mom for her birthday tomorrow, it's not going to be as good as this, so thanks for that. So I realize I'm in a unique position tonight as I'm probably the only person who's introducing somebody they didn't get to meet in person. My grandfather died young. He died 7 years before I was born. So while I never had the opportunity to meet him in person, his incredible legacy has provided me the opportunity to learn from and be inspired by him every single day. Growing up, my grandfather had pictures, awards, and plaques all over the house. My grandmother did, excuse me. And I was constantly hearing stories about him as a husband, a father, a brother, an uncle, and a teammate. So I'm going to do my best to paint you all a portrait of him, not just as an athlete, but as a person. Tonight, he's being honored as a pioneer in the history of Indiana football. Because of what we all learned in school, most of us probably associate pioneers with raccoon hats and the Oregon Trail. And, worst case scenario in that game, you caught scurvy because you're too cheap to buy oranges. And best case scenario, you made it to a new territory where you knew no one. And that's what I think about my grandpa when he went to college. In the summer of 1948, he boarded a train with a one-way ticket to Des Moines. He had 3 suitcases with him, gifted to him by his grandparents. And I love this part, he had a brown paper bag full of his favorite fried pork chops. Now you may ask yourself, why would one of the top athletes in the state head to Iowa to attend college? Despite leading his team to a city football championship in 1947 and 2 consecutive appearances in the state Final Four for basketball, he wasn't recruited in state. Purdue didn't return calls to his coaches. Indiana already had enough black running backs. And Notre Dame, despite receiving a 3-page summary of his numerous athletic accomplishments, told his high school coach to call them back when he wasn't black. I know. With no in-state options, his life as a pioneer began. First, he went to Michigan State. After having his off-campus apartment vandalized 4 times in as many months, he no longer felt comfortable on campus, and he decided to come back to Fort Wayne. It was here where a family friend told him about a small private school in Iowa, where fellow black athletes had found safety and success, not just on the field, but also in the classroom. So my grandfather accepted a track scholarship there under 2 conditions. First, he wanted an opportunity to try out for the football team, and secondly, he wanted to major in education. After his mandatory year as a redshirt freshman, my grandpa was able to try out for the football team, and he received a spot on the bench. The first game of the season, with 5 minutes left in the first half and the team with a comfortable lead, my grandpa played his first down with Drake football. The rest, as they say, is history. He went on to finish his collegiate career with 5,983 yards of total offense. I cannot even do that in Madden football. In a testament to his character, he left his final game with 1 quarter left, to ensure that every senior was able to play it down in their final game. He only needed 17 yards to get 6,000 total yards of offense, and he left the game so his fellow players could play it down. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going for the 17 yards. In his professional career, he achieved a three-peat with the Edmonton Elks, 32 years before Pat Riley invented and trademarked the term while coaching the Lakers. He retired the CFL's all-time leading rusher, averaging 5.6 yards a carry. Jim Brown averaged 5.2. Despite his impressive statistics on the field, my grandfather remained most proud of what he accomplished in his career as a teacher, coach, and eventually a high school principal. He became one of the first Black principals in Canada. He received his master's degree in education from the University of Alberta, and he was working on his doctorate in psychology when he passed away. In the years since his death, he has had 2 schools named in his honor: the John Bright School in Edmonton, Alberta, where he made his home after leaving Fort Wayne, and most recently, the John D. Bright College at Drake University. I'm happy to announce that this past May, their inaugural cohort graduated 26 students with ages ranging from 20 to 68, including a mother and her son. The mission of the college is to graduate first-generation college students, the underdogs, who, like my grandfather, have often been overlooked and counted out. Here to give you more detail about my grandfather and accept the award on his behalf is my older sister, Maura Johnson.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I really want to thank the IFCA for recognizing my grandpa. When my mom asked me if I wanted to give the thank you speech at the High School Football Hall of Fame, I was a little taken aback. My grandpa, I've never met him. He passed away 2-3 months before I was born. And in tonight's class, there's a couple of guys I went to college with. And so, my grandpa, who played back in the 50s, and guys that were in college with me in the 2000s, better late than never. And that's what I really appreciate. My sister told you a little bit about my grandpa's history. I really feel like it's a story, it's important to me, but it's a story that, to me, is beyond belief. A couple years back, the New York Times had an opportunity to recognize unsung heroes who deserved, an obituary in the New York Times. And I'd heard all about my grandpa growing up, but I never really did the research on my own. And so, I started doing my research. I'm an analytical person. I need data. And as I'm reading, I'm seeing that he was, leading the nation in offense. He led the nation in offense, the NCAA in 1949, 1950. And then let's go to a moment in 1951. Drake was up 5-0 on the season. 7 minutes into the game, my grandpa was hit in the jaw. They called it a forearm smash. His lower jaw was broken. At that time, he was in the running for the Heisman. He was the first African American to be leading the nation as a Heisman prospect. Those prospects were cut short after that game. But even with the broken jaw, he went back into the game and threw a 61-yard touchdown pass. And that was his second to last game in college. He ended up 5th in the Heisman running that year. In 1954, he was the first-round draft pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. Had he opted to play in the NFL, he would have been the first Black player for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's kind of crazy. He was 5th overall in the draft that year. But because of everything he experienced, he went on to the Canadian Football League and had a great career there. My sister touched on some of his accomplishments. He went on to be in the Hall of Fame there, and more important though, he left a legacy, not just in football. After he retired, I guess in those days they may not have paid as much as they pay now. So after he retired, he became a high school principal. There's schools named after him, as my sister mentioned. There's, a lot of people, you hear about the impact that my grandpa left, the legacy that he left. It goes beyond football. And so bringing it full circle, I really appreciate that Fort Wayne, his hometown, is now honoring him. My grandpa is a native of Fort Wayne, of a son of Fort Wayne. And so even if it comes later than a lot of other recognition, better late than never. And I really appreciate you guys for letting my grandpa's legacy live on. Thank you, everyone.